Right, it's time to look at the papers now, or stories making headlines in Nigerian newspapers today. With me in the studio is Jide Ologun, lawyer and social commentator or social development advocate. Jide, good morning.
Good morning,
Nice to
Mike.
see you.
Thank you.
Great. Now let's begin with the Leadership newspaper. Leadership newspaper is first now. Niger Delta divided over calls to scrap the NDDC. Niger Delta divided over calls to scrap the NDDC. Commission has become an embarrassment to the region. The host communities are saying this. Scrapping it will complicate unemployment crisis. The stakeholders are saying this. And South governors back forensic audit. Gbajabia Miller gives Babio 48 hours to name contract beneficiaries. Okay, all that on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Daily Times is next now. Daily Times, Buhari under pressure to sack Akpabio NDDC interim team. All right, Buhari under pressure to sack Akpabio and the NDDC's interim team. Okay, from there, let's go to the Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint says, sack service chiefs now. Senate tells Buhari, you can't decide their tenure, as the presidency replying that. Okay, my guests will be interested in talking about this when we open discussion just in a minute. From Blueprint, let's go to News Direct. News Direct says only Buhari can remove service chiefs. The presidency replies Senate. Only Buhari can remove service chiefs. Okay, we'll understand what the law says as we speak with Jide Ologun shortly. Daily Trust is next now, and as killings continue, Senate tells service chiefs to quit. And their fate is in Buhari's hands. The presidency says that service chiefs should leave on moral ground. The president should listen to people's representatives, as experts are advising. And fresh attacks claim 14 in Kaduna, 16 abducted in Niger. All right, that's Daily Trust there. And then from there, let's go to the national economy, which is the last paper we're looking at now. It's talking about employability. Nigeria's skilled workforce ranks 6th in Africa. Nigeria's skilled workforce ranks 6th in Africa. Okay. That's the national economy. Okay. Jide, let me come to you on this issue of service chiefs. This call has become louder in the last a few days, talking about the call by the Senate for the president to sack service chiefs. Talk to us basically from the eyes of the law.
If you
does the Senate have, what powers does the Senate have in the eyes of the law to pressure the president, or what influence do they have for the service chiefs to go?
The Senate represents the people of Nigeria. We have 109 there in the legislative arm of the government, and part of the oversight function is to ensure that the expectations of governance, particularly delivering on good governance, is delivered. And if the country is in such a state of insecurity, it must be their business to engage the executive arm of the government. And let's go to the executive arm of the government now. If you look at Section 218, subsections 1 and 2 of Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the President and Commander-in-Chief has the prerogative to manage the service chiefs. And at a time, an argument came that if you go by Section 8 of the Public Service Rules, that if you have put in 35 years or you are age 60, you have to step aside. But then, brilliantly, the issue was touched when the service chiefs were supposed to have left office, because their tenure has been extended. And if you look at the revised Armed Forces of Nigeria's harmonized terms and conditions of service, that was where it was adjusted to enable the president extend their tenure, because by now they all should have left office. And now the president is saying that they cannot go, that he is satisfied. And it's like we say, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. And recently, the Chief of Army Staff himself, Buratai, said that he is working in line with the vision of the president. And some of us asked, what is the vision of the president? I think about 100 soldiers at least have been killed. Policemen killed, civilians killed, regions thrown into deep sorrow and pain. bloodshed everywhere. So
but
is
the
a
military,
vision,
on the other hand, has told Nigerians that they are winning the war against
you see,
against Boko Haram.
You know what I have done? I listened carefully to the statement of the president when he took office with the promise of change. And he said he is for everybody and for nobody. So I tried to position his activities within these two statements, and it's been quite complex for me. Because look at the impact of the insecurity on the economy. Recently, almost 400 soldiers eased out. Recently, policemen had to go and rescue some soldiers from bandits. The picture we are painting, even though we claim to be succeeding in this battle, is that the bandits, the Boko Haram, the insurgents, the terrorists are more equipped than our military. It's embarrassing. But like I said, he's the commander-in-chief. He's the one that has the prerogative. He probably has a vision that may not tally with my vision. My vision is that there should be security in the land, according to Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, which is the principal purpose of government, which will now create room for the manifestation of Section 16 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that talks about sustainable economic development, taking care of the people, and providing happiness for the people is there. You can go and study it. But in this state of insecurity, people are being dislodged from their communities, and it brings back to the table the expression of General Theophilus Danjuma, who alleged ethnic cleansing. Recently, I think one of them came out, I think the Chief of Army Staff, if I'm right, that the bandits are 100%, the kidnappers are 100% Nigerians, the bandits are about 90% Nigerians. I quite agree with him, because at a time, we opened up our borders and said foreigners could come in. At a time, President Muhammadu Buhari said that Muammar Gaddafi is responsible for the infiltration of terrorists in Nigeria. All right? And at a time, we started to register these foreigners. E-registration. So they are now Nigerianized. It's so terrible.
All right.
That we are not in an official war.
In the statement you made reference to the Chief of Army Staff, in that video clip that was made, that went viral, in that statement too, he said that the security, that if Nigerians want this insurgency to end, that it's in the hands of Nigerians. What do you make of that? The
senators are now telling the president, change the service chiefs. Afenifere said the same. Ohaneze said the same. The Northern Elders Forum said the same. The National Assembly saying the same. But I have said it. The insecurity of one is the insecurity of all. Security is the conveyor belt of prosperity. And if prosperity is also a vision, then we should be comfortable with this situation. But what I know is that someday it will end. We are not even discussing the moral impact within the military and stuff like that. But then, I've said it, all the characteristics of this regime will be recorded by history. Okay.
We'll wait to see how all of these will turn out.
Well, smart Akpejoye, public affairs analyst, joins me now via Skype. Good morning, Mr. Akpejoye. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's head straight to the papers, and I begin with the Leadership newspaper. It says Niger Delta divided over calls to scrap NDDC. And then we'll move to the front page of the Daily Times. Buhari under pressure to sack Akpabio, NDDC's interim team. I'm certain my guests will be interested in looking at discussions around the NDDC. Let's quickly move now to the front page of the Blueprint. Buhari, Obasanjo, Atiku, Tinubu, others, Issa Funtua was greatly admired, respected. And now to the front page of the News Direct. Only Buhari can remove service chiefs. Presidency replies Senate. To the front page of the Daily Trust, as killings continue, Senate tells service chiefs to quit. Their fate in Buhari's hands. Presidency, service chiefs should leave on moral ground. President should listen to people's representatives. Experts, fresh attacks claim 14 in Kaduna, 16 abducted in Niger. And finally, on the front page of the national economy, employability. Nigeria's skilled workforce ranks 6th in Africa. All right, let's head back to the studio and speak with our guest here now. I'll begin with you, Jide Ologun. You have been following developments with the NDDC, and just yesterday, the House of Reps, talking about the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, gave an ultimatum to the Minister of the Niger Delta in person of Godswill Akpabio, saying that he should publish the names and the dates of persons that he said have been awarded contracts. You would recall that Akpabio, while testifying on Monday, said that a majority of the contracts awarded were given to members of the House of Reps as well as the Assembly. I wonder what you make of this, placing this side by side, the fact that the Speaker of the House of Reps also said that the acting MD in person of Pandey should not appear anymore, seeing that we need to get to the root of the matter at hand.
It was an interesting drama, but then the hours are counting, so let's wait if Akpabio, we have names to publish, though there are allegations creating a cobweb of serious corruption. But I think my interest goes beyond the drama there to the commission itself. The Niger Delta Development Commission was established, I think, June 5, 2000. So to bring development to that oil-rich region. So you see a location that is swimming in resources. And we are expected by now, 20 years after, to be recording, having maybe an area like Dubai, an area like Singapore within Nigeria, even if not the whole of Nigeria. And interestingly, the indigenes have been allowed to engage the resources that the government has pumped to that region. And it's so amazing that today we have a lot of corrupt allegations.
But these are people who are expected to understand the pains that the people are going through. That is why they are at the helm of affairs.
Yeah.
And we're called to question. And so one is wondering what is going on.
Brilliant expression. They're expected to understand. But do they understand the pains of the people? Or rather, they add pains to the pains of the people. But sometimes, some are tempted to blame the people too, because there may not be these people calling for accountability, because if you dig deep down, perhaps because of the deliberate poverty in the land, those who are expected to call for accountability will go begging for crumbs, because, and that is why they are so bold sometimes to really, you know, just walk on the heads and shoulders of people, because they know that they spread these things around. So if you have tasted of the goodies, why are you asking for accountability? It may shock you that Magu is now revealing that some of the impounded vehicles were sold to Aso Villa and some ministers and things like that. So, but it's good for Nigeria that I think we are getting to the saturation level of the gross mismanagement of our resources. And looking back in time, you hear of the cocoa house, the television house. These were projects developed by regional revenues generated. But today, even when we clamor for true federalism, is it this kind of federalism where people who will engage the resources at the federalism level are alleged to be corrupt? Because I'm not saying anybody is corrupt, because they have not been prosecuted. But this is quite embarrassing, the level of corruption in the land.
All right, let's bring Smart Akpejo into the conversation now. Stemming from what my guest in the studio said, that's Jide Ologun, is saying now that the people are not seemingly pressing for accountability. Over 20 years that the NDDC was established, and you still see the level of poverty in the land. And if you look at the papers this morning, you see that there are even, the people are divided with regards to the forensic audit and also the issues that are happening. Now, what would you say with regards to the demands of the people to ensure transparency and accountability, and that they benefit from the resources that has been channeled towards that region?
Well, thank you for having me once again. It is so sad that, just like Sonny Okoso sang, he said, so many years after independence, we are still finding it difficult to stand. so many years after we have had the Niger Delta Commission, we are still finding it difficult to match their achievements to what has gone to them. Over 8 trillion since inception has gone to the Niger Delta up till this moment. We still cannot see clearing achievement. Will we blame the government for setting up such commission? No. The government had good intention. They said, okay, this Niger Delta Commission, they have never put somebody, they've not put a Yoruba man there, they've not put an Hausa man there. This is you people, manage it yourself. They have mismanaged it. What all you see that some people are going against the forensic audit or whatever, they are stage managed. Everybody wants a forensic audit. But beyond that, I think if I am Mr. President, as of today, Akpabio will be in house arrest. It would have been suspended. That dramatist that fainted, that faked is this thing, should have recuperated in the EFCC detention. And we should have started it from there. It is so sad that since the creation of Niger Delta, nothing absolutely you can say is the achievement. Let them come up with a glaring achievement. And yet, anybody that works in Niger Delta as a government appointee, 6 months after becomes a multi-billionaire. We cannot continue in this manner. It is so sad that what we are seeing is a shame to the whole nation, but I think Mr. President is not acting fast enough, because by today, Akpabio should not have been there.
What would have been, if I may interrupt your line of thought, what would have been the president reacting fast enough to the issues of the Niger Delta that we see with recent developments?
The immediate suspension of Akpabio, the Minister for Niger Delta, and the immediate arrest of all the interim members of the interim management committee, and an immediate dissolution of that interim management committee. Let the EFCC can handle the job. ICPC can handle it in collaboration with DSS. We don't even need a forensic audit, so to say. Within October last year, that is October 2019, and 31st of June, what have you received? What have you spent? Now, the expenditure, the expenditures corresponding to what was backlog or that you have spent, or a new one. If it is new one, what have you done with it? If you go, you see, I have followed it up because I'm also from the Niger Delta. For a very long, most of the projects, 80% of the projects awarded, paid for fully, have not been completed up till date, and I stand to be corrected. Let them come up with a record. So what the president should have done in a clear time is that Akpabio should have been suspended, put under house arrest. That guy that fake collapse at the National Assembly we should have made him to recuperate at the EFCC facility.
All right. Let's get Jide Ologun's perspective to what you just said now. Do you think he's saying the president is not reacting as swiftly as he should, because he is saying that Akpabio should perhaps have been arrested, and that is the acting MD in person of Ponde should be held back by the EFCC? Do you share the same view?
Brilliant expectation there. But because if you go by the Constitution, Section 15, subsection 5, of our Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the state shall abolish corruption and abuse of office. So within that conveyor belt, you can take all those steps. But where do you put the political interest? Akpabio is a big fish in the political arena. I mean, he has brilliantly requested the intervention of EFCC, but EFCC itself is on the front burner of several corrupt allegations. And look at the way that was even handled. He's not being interrogated by the police, just fact-finding, even when he was applying for bail, that no, it's not the police that will release him on bail, it's a panel that is investigating. Look at this case of NDDC now. The National Assembly, the fact-finding they are doing, can they prosecute on it? So it depends on how we implement our laws. The laws are there, I've said it. An American president had to reduce the number of laws in the US and told the citizens, we will now implement the remaining laws. But here we have the laws. But like I said, where is the political interest? Where's the point? These are obvious issues.
So
I
are
mean,
you saying that
for
the
COVID-19, can you imagine 1.5 billion naira
of all the benefits of perhaps the federal government's intentions, which are meant to better the lives of Nigerians?
You see, when you talk of development, you are talking of obvious change in a state of a situation. And its economic development involves the engagement of economic and technical skills to engage resources, improve the welfare of the people, the quality of life. And can we claim that the quality of life in the Niger Delta has improved between year 2000 and year 2020? And we are talking of NDDC. What about Osopadek? What about the Northern Development? You see, so we are just wasting our resources. And these are human beings, allegedly, because I want to work within the confines of Section 36 of our Constitution that says there is presumption of innocence. So you may find a situation where a group of persons come together, disappear with 75 trillion naira, they are never prosecuted, they are not criminals. So we need to get serious. You can see now NDDC is even bringing the National Assembly in. So you just find a cartel of leaders in code who have turned themselves to dealers. And that's why the country is the capital of poverty. And like I keep saying, poverty is constantly a threat to prosperity. So if you think that you want to empower yourself while others are exposed and vulnerable, you are the most endangered. We need to build this country out and engage our resources effectively. Let there be development.
Smart, if we are to reposition the Niger Delta Development Commission such that it will be beneficial to the people of that region, where do we begin?
In first place, remove the Niger Delta Commission, remove it under the control of a minister. Let it be under the direct supervision of Mr. President, including not only Niger Delta, including the Northern Development, whatever the counterparts in the north. Remove it from a minister. Let it be directly under you. Either we like it or not today, Buhari has shown a very clear manifestation of honesty. You cannot pinpoint him to any fraud or anything. But everybody working under him, they've had one allegation or the other, and that is why we are not moving forward. So remove NDDC from a minister. Let it be under the president. Okay. Equally, he needed the solution of the interim commission. Put in a standing force and let the whistleblower be part of the whistleblower. Let it be given a top fight so that we can monitor all their expenditure. We can monitor all the contracts awarded. We can monitor all the contracts that has been implemented. That is one of the best.
Smart Akwaje, I'm afraid we have to leave the conversation here now. Thank you so much for your contribution. Jide Ologun, thank you for joining us on the Breakfast Show this morning.
God bless Nigeria.
Absolutely.